Okay, so I want to make like something super clear straight away, just to avoid a bunch of comments that are kind of stating what I think should be obvious. These are my opinions, right? I'm not making these to pass judgment. I'm not making these to be right. I'm sharing my experience with you. I'm giving you the window that I have seen certain behaviors through. That doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. It doesn't mean shit, really. It's something that you listen to, you say, hey man, that applies to me. I could see where somebody would think that or not. That's helped me tremendously in my growth. I frequently kind of inventory with my friends and ask them things like, how do you see me? How do you see this behavior of mine? How does this part of me come across? And I don't always like the answers. Like, I don't like them at all sometimes, but I need the answers. So this video I want to do to kind of clarify some things, and somehow I'm down this like INFJ wormhole. That wasn't my intention. I never intended on getting there. It's probably, in all honesty, the type I'm most fascinated with. Maybe in part because of a lot of kind of sort of bizarre similarities. I posted on Typology Central back in 2009, so almost a decade ago, and the post I have on there about INFJs and ENTPs being the ideal match was really based on ideology and principle. Like, it was more a potential based post. Like, these two types have the most potential. Not only do I think of any pairing. I think INFJ and ENTP have the most potential of any pairing. That doesn't mean it's an easy or likely scenario. I think it has the most potential because it's also the most work. And my experience has been, if it fails, the point of, I mean, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. So the point of failure tends to be the discomfort of an INFJ to reflect on themselves, or maybe the flighty nature of an ENTP, or an ENTP not knowing that they need the balance that comes from an INFJ, or both pointing fingers and saying the other person's the problem. So I made that post, and I think that was in part because of my fascination in general with INFJs and psychology, human behavior, and sort of how I see the world through the mirror an INFJ can hold up for me. So my experience with INFJs, I have a lot of experience with INFJ females. They are very, 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 I mean, they're overwhelmingly more common, probably an order of magnitude more common than INFJ males. And so I know a disproportionate number of INFJ women. INFJ men, my base is smaller. I've interacted with a fair number. I've been very close friends with 3. One I was friends with for quite some time. It was sort of funny. I just meet people and I'm friends, and I don't try to type people. And so this friend that I had, Charlie, I wasn't trying to type him. We were friends for a long time. We even lived together for a little while. And one day, I don't know why I never noticed this. Like, after years of knowing him, maybe he just wore long sleeves a lot. But I looked down, and he had a bunch of scars on his arm. And it was funny because it was just an instant reaction. I looked down and I saw the scars, and I looked back up. I was like, "Are you an INFJ?" And then it all made sense to me. And he was like, yeah, like, you're into MBTI? I was like, yeah. So it was sort of funny. Because I think INFJs, what's her name? Maggie Gellinger. Is that her name? Gyllenhaal. Maggie Gyllenhaal? Anyway, from The Secretary, I think her character's an INFJ. And I think she kind of really personifies what I think of as an INFJ. So I was friends with him. I had another really good friend, Andrew, that we were great friends, and then I have my closest friend that I talk to all the time. I mean, we're quite honestly like a couple, but lacking the sexual component. And we all like sort of feed and balance off of each other. On the female end, I have probably, if I kind of rated my friends, my fourth closest friend, or the person I talk to fourth most often, she is an INFJ. I have the video with another friend of mine that's an INFJ. And we're not super close anymore, but we were for quite some time. And I have a few other friends that I would consider really close friends and INFJs, to the point that we know each other's flaws, we don't take things personally, we can really like interact intently with people. So, and this video is getting a little more long-winded than I want, but I'm kind of trying to give you a base and a foundation for A, where I'm coming from, B, sort of my knowledge base in interacting with these types. So my experience on the difference in the gender component with INFJs, because I experience them so very differently. I think the gap between male INFJs and female INFJs may be the biggest gender gap that there is between any of the MBTI types. I think and I think it seems to almost get bigger as they get older. And I bring that up because I think there's a pretty big gap between female ENTPs and male ENTPs, but that seems to, because of the functions, that seems to grow smaller over time. So I think it's more a component with ENTPs and gender. I think it's more a component of the female ENTPs get a much better handle on their FE before the males do. And so that makes them well-rounded at a younger age. It's almost like there's maybe a 10-year growth gap or 5-year growth gap between those two. INTJs, female INTJs and male INTJs, I don't think it's as big. I mean, I really think the biggest discrepancy is between the male INFJs and the female INFJs. And I think the reason is simply because of the function stack. I think that society at large today really reinforces a lot of the flaws that the INFJ has to overcome as a female. So I think society for the females is very, very much so sort of reinforcing all of the negative components of the MBTI type. Now, this isn't a persecution of women, this isn't a persecution of personality type. This is simply from a scientific, in my head, like a detached function stack only. If you look at the function stack, if you look at society, if you look at the things we value, we don't value, we accept, we don't accept, and so on, to me, it's very apparent that that function stack has its flaws and weaknesses reinforced by society based on being a female, whereas the males, it doesn't. It's more focused on, toughening them up. Don't feel this, don't think that, it's definitely more focused. It doesn't in any way, shape, or form reinforce victim mentality. And at the end of the day, I think INFJs are very, 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 very prone, female INFJs are very, very prone to victim mentality. He did this to me. You hear this. If you look through the comments, if you look through posts, you will constantly hear what is being done to INFJs. They're constantly, INFJ females, to clarify again, they're constantly giving away their power. And you don't see that nearly as often with the men. Now, are the men more repressed emotionally? Are they? I'm not here to. I don't know the other components of it, right? I'm saying what I'm able to observe. So the men that I know that are INFJs tend to be more focused on, different components of their life. I'm not saying that there's any difference in any outlook on life. I'm not saying the males are even necessarily any more happy. I'm just saying that they don't sort of have that intrinsic societal reinforced victim mentality. If you even look at my comments, there's comment after comment after comment where there's this presumption of so many things, right? There's this presumption of so many, there's so many inferences and interpretations of what I'm saying that are negative, when in reality I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm saying, hey, you have this quality, this is how it comes across to me, And I think other people might be experiencing it this way. And if that's valid, you take it. And if it's not, you walk away from it. But if it's something you've never had an opportunity to assess about yourself, a good example of that is I'm told that I'm abrasive frequently. It's true. I mean, I am abrasive. I don't like that. I don't want to come off like that. I'm a super caring, compassionate person. I care very, very deeply about things. I mean, I caught a cockroach, right? And I went to go feed it to my tarantula. And then my tarantula didn't eat it. So then I felt bad. I don't want it like tortured in a cage with this tarantula. And so I caught it outside. Like, I live in Arizona, so you kind of see them running around sometimes outside. So I like let the poor little thing go outside. I was like, I don't want you like tortured in this cage. Like, I'm empathizing, I'm anthropomorphizing a fucking cockroach, right? And not wanting it to have to sit in a tarantula's cage and just wait to be preyed upon. Because I'm sure the damn cockroach has got to know something's fucked up here and it's out to get me. So, there is a component where it can be a little bit tough for me to have me seen a way that isn't my intention, and I understand it, and I understand it's a reflection of the perceiver. It's a reflection of how I'm being perceived, but it's still something that I have to take in internally. I have to process. I have to decide whether or not there's truth to it. I'm older, so in a lot of cases, I've already done the work. I've already analyzed this thing. I already know the base, the foundation, or where my intentions are coming from, and that's kind of my my point of origin. Like, what are my intentions here? Are my intentions bad? Are my intentions good? I wouldn't make a video, for example, in one of the INFJ videos, and I talk about cheating, I talk about whatever, and people have this idea that I've been super hurt by an INFJ, which is super valid from an INFJ's perspective, because that's how they would be feeling. But that's not how I'm coming about it. That's not the place that I'm coming from. I'm not coming from a place of I'm out to get somebody, because that's never the case for me. I'm always coming from a place of greater good. So that's kind of how, and I know this video is maybe only 40% on the gender differences, but that is definitely how I see them. I definitely see the male INFJs as having a much more solid foundation and a much better with boundaries, much better with being assertive, much better with speaking their piece, much better with things. Still struggles, of course. The INFJ struggles are there regardless of gender, but then a lot of times with the female INFJs, I see the constant, like, this person this, and there's constant conversation about how much somebody's drained your energy or taken from you or sucked you dry, or you had to do this really horrible thing, but you had to do it. You had no other choice because this other person put you in this situation. And there was a comment about INFJs acting in response to somebody else's action, so responding to other people's action. And I frequently say there's no worse decision. Like, don't let indecision make your indecision, or don't let indecision make your decisions. That's a tough place to be in. So some of the videos I make is just me like yelling out to you guys, stop giving away your power, stop giving away your control, stop for a minute and just analyze what's going on and how are you being seen by other people. Why do these problems keep happening? Why is this such a common experience for INFJs? And I do the same with me right now. I'm super, super stressed about the number of projects I have in my life. I'm feeling very out of control and spun around because I have so many projects and so many things I'm thinking. I can't sit still long enough to watch a movie. It's very, very frustrating to me as an ENTP, because I've been dealing with this struggle for 43 years now, and I know the cycle that I go through. I know the 150 miles an hour feeling crazy and out of control, and stopped feeling like unmotivated and like I'm doing nothing, but I've never been able to find a good balance between those two. All I can do is sort of try to speed up as slow as possible so I can maintain it, and then slow down as slow as possible so I can maintain it, and try to find some balance that way. But it's a major struggle of mine, and I do look at other ENTPs and I do watch other people and I do say, Why are they struggling with this? How are they managing this? How are they dealing with this? So I hope this video helps somebody. Fuck, I don't even know if I want to post it. I wasn't expecting to do 15 minutes about this, but it was definitely on my mind, and I felt like something I needed to really clarify. So hopefully it's of some use, and y'all are welcome to thumbs down this shit too. You guys love kicking that thumbs down, but at least I know I got you thinking. So also you can unsubscribe. That's always an option. You can also not watch my videos, or you can just comment below and tell me how fucking hurtful and how rude or whatever I am, because I'm alright with that too. Alright,